Genesis hasn't been selling particularly well in Australia recently. Of those in their fleet, the SUVs have been doing the best, and this is probably their second best seller, the larger GV80, and it is called, this particular model, the Coupe. They say it is athletic elegance. That's the word they describe it. I'm not a great fan of the looks, but let's see whether it lives up to its prestige, luxury image. For 2025, Genesis has given the GV80 a fresh makeover. Styling updates and enhancements to safety, comfort and convenience right across the range. Now, the lineup has been streamlined to just two all-wheel drive variants, the 2.5 litre turbo and the 3.5 litre turbo, which we tested, both now equipped with the luxury package as standard. We'll dive into the details shortly. Genesis' journey into the Australian market hasn't exactly been smooth. Originally introduced under the Hyundai banner, the early years saw the Hyundai Genesis sedan sold through the broader Hyundai dealer network from 2014 to 2017. But by late 2018, after a pause in marketing the product here, a key strategic shift was made. If Genesis was to truly compete as a premium brand, it needed to stand on its own. That meant dedicating showrooms and a separate customer experience. No longer just a high-end Hyundai, but a luxury mark in its own right. Sharing space with Hyundai cars risked undermining that premium image. But separating the brands also meant giving up economies of scale and customer reach Hyundai had already built. Of course, they're not totally divorced. There's still a strong connection, especially for customers who've had a positive experience with Hyundai and are now looking to move up to something more special. And recognising the practical needs of customers, Genesis owners can get their car serviced at any Hyundai dealership. Genesis officially launched as a standalone brand in Australia in 2019. While the car's received strong reviews, sales have struggled to gain real momentum. So why isn't Genesis taking off in Australia? Well, at least not yet. We sat down with Justin Douglas, the head of Genesis Motors Australia, to find out.
We really have put a lot of emphasis on elevating the retail experience. So we have a retail construct of 2 studios, as well as 5 showcases around Australia, which we've invested in heavily to provide a beautiful environment to buy vehicles in. And we also have really put a lot of emphasis whilst we've been building that customer base to certainly strengthen our ownership experience. So if you look at the way that we go to market, we're unique in the sense that we have the one price model in Australia. It includes the 5 years servicing, it includes 5 years warranty, it includes 5 years roadside assist. But it also has a unique Genesis GU element where you don't visit our service centres. We take a service loan vehicle out to you, we pick up the car from you, service it and drop it back at a nominated destination. So again, just some little things there that differentiate us to other established brands in Australia.
That whole customer thing is an interesting concept I'll come back to. Do you want more dealerships? Are you aiming to expand that?
We've gone on record to say that we will. So we've really focused on the existing stores that we have established here in Australia. Over the last 2 years, we've gone through significant upgrades of those facilities. So that began with our 2 facilities in Queensland and 1 in Melbourne. Just recently, so in mid-December last year, we opened up our flagship store here in North Strathfield in Sydney. And we've also relocated our Perth store from an inner city studio type of setup to a more traditional type of dealership or showcase, as we call it, in Osborne Park. We've stated that we know that there's customers in Australia that do want to be a part of the brand, but we're not necessarily accessible to them now based on our current sales footprint. So as a result, we did announce that we will be partnering with a few agency partners around Australia, just to ensure that, as I said, we help with accessing those customers that want to access us. And the positive is, being a part of the Hyundai Motor Group, we can tap into that service footprint that Hyundai's built around Australia, where there's around 165 dealers that have the ability to service our vehicles. So it gives those customers peace of mind when they do buy the cars.
If you value independent journalism or simply enjoyed the video, please support the channel by hitting like and subscribe.
So let's have a look at the exterior. Let's have a walk around. First thing you'll notice is that there are these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 little lights here. But it's the traditional Genesis pattern of these lights here, which to my mind look like a truncated version of LeVar Burton's Star Trek The Next Generation. You remember he had that Captain Giorgio LaForge with that look about it. Evan has a story about where that was actually came from, but we'll come to that in a moment. The front grille, they say much about changing a bit of the pattern here and the elegance of the design, but something's gone wrong. I don't know if it's hit it or what, but a little bit has peeled off. Now these lights, they're a new headlight design. They're made possible by, and I quote, micro lens array technology and dynamic welcoming lighting with its unique and expressive sequence. Down the side, have a look at the size of those wheels, 22 inch. They are enormous, 420 profile, which makes them very much for handling more than necessarily for smooth and quiet riding, although they work hard on that. Now down the side, some things we notice here is chrome. Look, we have a bit of chrome here, and then we have this strip down the side. Now you'll notice something. The car was parked for a short while when they had a downpour, and we end up with this, it almost catches the spots in the dirt there, which makes it rather hard to show the chrome piece. Now that chrome, I think, adds a certain dimension to the elegance of it, saying that it is a luxury car. Oh, by the way, they do talk about the pattern around the emblem of the headlights as being gouache. It highlights the convergence of analog sensibility and advanced technology with adding an elegant finishing touch. Gouache is actually a decorative technique in which very precise, intricate and repetitive patterns are mechanically engraved into an underlying material with engine turning. It also is generally repetitive architectural patterns of intersecting or overlapping spirals or other shapes. Now, you might have remembered it because it's from, well, made very popular around ancient Near East or classical Greece and Rome and neoclassical architecture. It has a sculptured back bumper bar. I can't even see it. And it has what they call hidden exhaust pipes. I don't know why you'd want to hide them. Perhaps it makes it look a little less traditional. I think even you said that it was a good thing to show your exhaust pipes to say that it's not an electric car. Point about the colour is you've got a choice of 11. But every one of the press cars in Genesis comes out with this matte black finish that they are trying to promote, I guess, very strongly. It's not my favourite colour. Do you like the look of the fastback at the back here? To my mind, it's not as elegant, and it's striving to make a boxy SUV into something that it can't quite do. And the worst place to look at it, I think, ironically, from the side some people don't mind it, but from the back it just doesn't look quite as purposeful. Maybe even if you come back a little, it loses that aggressive look, I think. Standing out in the luxury car market isn't easy these days, with many mainstream models offering a wide range of tech features. But Genesis has brought a few sophisticated, even elegant touches to the table. A fingerprint recognition system allows a driver to start and drive the GV80 without the key fob. Once recognised, it automatically adjusts the seats, mirrors and other settings to your personal profile. Now there's a UV sanitising compartment in the centre console. Genesis claims it can eliminate 99.9% of surface bacteria from items like your phone. Active road noise cancelling helps to keep the cabin serene. Over-the-air software updates means digital improvements and new features can be delivered without a visit to the dealership. On the 3.5 turbo variant, Road Preview ECS, and that uses the front camera to scan the road ahead, adjusting the suspension for potholes and speed humps to smooth out the ride. There's a brake mode setting that lets you choose between comfort and sport. In a lovely detail, front armrests are heated, but only on the side where the seat heater has been activated. So when you get into the car, it has 5 different colours and things that you can do inside. Ours is very light with the standard sort of stitching. I'm going to turn that on because it's a very hot day. But the most prominent feature is, of course, this 27-inch screen, which is about the size of a television in some regards. But of course that is the diameter across here, and while it looks like one extensive screen, it still operates very much as one in front of the driver and one as an infotainment screen. In front of the driver there's not a lot of information, which I like. It's simple information that you can do, although I did have trouble trying to zero the trip meter. Seems obvious, there ought to be an easy way to do it. It didn't flow for me. It has all the things you would expect, including a head-up display, which, unlike some of the Kias, doesn't spread across the screen much. It's still in a fairly tight area of which you can get an awful lot of information in there. Navigation, speed limit, and range of other things. The set-out on the steering wheel is fairly typical or traditional, but there's one thing that totally confused me. There was a star here for your favourites, and there's a button here which used to be for scrolling through what is in front of you on the dashboard, but it's not. It's some other feature that it's currently not available. I think that's like another star feature, a favourite. I can press that and change the dials a bit, but changing the information, well, now I've got a camera in front of me. Since last reset, I've averaged 12.3 litres. I've been driving for 50 hours since the last reset. Well, that was a little before I got into it. And I've done it has done 1,936 kilometres. I'd like to reset that to 0. So what's the usual thing? You hold that tight. No, nothing happened. It's not intuitive, or it's not representative of what you might normally be used to. We do have, of course, the roof. But in hot weather like this, not my preferred option. And I'll talk about what it means in terms of sound in the car when we're driving. Let's have a look under the bonnet. A 3.5 litre V6 twin turbo engine, but lifting the bonnet is lovely because it's got hydraulics. I completely packed in with little symbols of where to put the oil in, but basically says don't touch. Quite a number of little different compartments. Leaves do tend to collect, as is often the case with most cars. Now this has 279 kilowatts and 530 newton meters of torque. It's meant to average 11.7 litres per 100 kilometres. That's the official rating. We got about 12.3, and it'll do 0 to 100 in 5.6, although the coupe is slightly slower. Hardly worth measuring, but 5.7. I always thought they were more aerodynamic. Apparently not. All right. Press this little button here. And we have a fair amount of red. Now, I've never been game enough to try and get to the other seats. This is supposed to be a 7-seater. I don't think it is. So, what's it like behind the wheel? On those sections of Australia's famous coarse aggregate roads, which our colleague Paul Morrell calls sandpaper roads, I even tried closing the sunroof blind to cut it down a little. It's not excessive, but perhaps not quite as quiet as expected. There's lane keep assist, which the Korean brands generally do very well, but I found it a little bit more aggressive in this latest software update, feeling like it was fighting me, until I got used to it and learned to trust what it was doing. The GV80 does have automatic lane changing on high-quality motorways, just indicate, and it handles the rest if the coast is clear. As for the seat massage, well, it's not actually called a massage. It's labelled as a stretching function, and only activates when the car thinks you need it. Personally, I'd prefer to have more manual control. And there's also a haptic steering wheel alert, a faint vibration when you drift in your lane. Though in my experience, it was so subtle, I didn't always notice it.
Have your own thoughts? We'd love to hear them, good, bad, or in between. Have a chat with us by dropping a comment below.